Thinking about moving to Summerville, South Carolina? Before you make the leap, let's dive into some hidden truths about living in this charming town that most people don't talk about. My wife and I and our 4 kids moved down here over 2.5 years ago. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. We love it, but there are some things that kind of drive us crazy. So we're going to go over a couple of those things to make sure this is the right place for you to start looking. Come with me. All right, if you wonder who I am, my name is Dave Broom. I'm a licensed realtor in the Charleston and surrounding areas. Like I was saying in the beginning, my wife and I and our 4 kids moved down here from Buffalo, New York over 2.5 years ago. We do absolutely love it down here, but there is some things, no place is perfect. So there is some things that drive us crazy down here, a little bit crazy. I'm not going to get, we're not too crazy. We do love living down here. It's much different than living in Buffalo, and we love that aspect, things to do outside and that, but I'm going to get into it in this video. But if you do get value from this video, make sure that you like the video, tap that subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so that you know when new videos are hitting the channel, you can come check them out. And to be honest with you, my team and I are getting calls, texts, emails every single day from people just like me 2.5 years ago, just like you watching this video, that might be sick of their state and looking at a different state like South Carolina to consider moving to, and Charleston and the surrounding areas in specific. And they end up reaching out. They give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and we have a quick conversation. They usually plan a trip down here, and then we see where it goes from there. So if that's you, you want to get more information, you want to just pick my brain a little bit about what it's like moving down here, maybe with a family, maybe retiring down here. I've helped many people with families, many people retiring. Just ask me as many questions as you want. Feel free to reach out. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I will promptly get back to you, and we can start that process of exploring if you want to move down here. And whether you're 3 days, whether you're looking to move in 3 days or 3 years, it's never too early or too late to reach out. So feel free to reach out. But let's look at, in this video, we're looking at some of the hidden truths, some of the things maybe people don't tell you about living down here. I want to dive into specifics about certain things that can be a little aggravating, and make sure you can handle these things so that you are looking in the right spot. So come with. All right, number 1 on the list is infrastructure and traffic. I will be honest, I've been honest in a couple other videos that the traffic can get heavy in the Summerville area. With so much building, with many new houses, with so many people moving here, it is getting crowded to a certain point in Summerville. And the infrastructure has not caught up to that yet. They are doing a decent job putting new roads in, especially I live up in Cane Bay. They're putting Fairwinds Boulevard. They have Black Tom Road, and then they have, you can go up to Cane Bay. So they are doing different entries and exits in certain areas, but the traffic can get heavy, especially if you're going rush hour traffic time. I don't get this as much because I'm not going to a 9-to-5 job. I get out at 10 o'clock sometimes. I come home. I try to adjust my schedule to work around some of the traffic. So the traffic can get heavy. It can get heavy on some of the roads around here and on 26, especially during rush hour time. So if I have to go down to Mount Pleasant, I'll go. Sometimes you can go a different route, but my main advice is to use your GPS when you first get down here and learn as many routes as possible, because the traffic can get heavy. We're not talking like Washington, D.C. heavy, but it can get heavy. It's much heavier than Buffalo, where you don't get a lot of traffic because people aren't flocking to Buffalo. People are moving to here, especially in the Summerville area, so the traffic can get heavy. My advice is to use your GPS as much as possible, learn the routes, learn different ways to go, and there is different times to go, there is different routes to take. Sometimes you might have to leave a little bit earlier. That's just something you have to anticipate when you're coming down here. It's not, like I said, it's not Washington, D.C. traffic, I've heard, but it can get heavy at times, so that you have to adjust your schedule for those times. All right, number 2 on the list is there can be higher property taxes in newer developments. While South Carolina has lower property taxes compared to most other states, new developments in Summerville often have a little bit higher taxes due to additional fees like special assessments or bonds for infrastructure. Make sure to check tax rates when purchasing a new home in newer neighborhoods. I will also discuss this with you when we are looking at new construction, if that is something you want to look at. But little bit higher. It's not super out of whack. And you're still buying in South Carolina, especially moving from New York, California, other areas with higher property taxes. We lived in a 1,500 square foot ranch in Buffalo, New York, and we were paying about $8,000 in taxes per year. Moving down here, we live in a house 2.5 times the size, and we pay a little over $2,000 in taxes. So maybe a little bit more in the newer developments, but it's still much less than other parts of the country where people are moving from, especially New York and other areas that have higher property taxes. Number 3 is the hurricane risk. Like much of the Lowcountry, Summerville is prone to hurricanes and tropical storms. While it's not directly on the coast, severe weather can bring heavy rains, flooding, and power outages. Since moving down here, we have been through three or four hurricanes, and it's best to take precautions, listen to the weather, bring things inside when needed. And Hurricane Debbie did bring a lot of flooding. Even though in the Cane Bay area, the flooding did not get up to the houses, our backyards were flooded out. It was hard to travel. We were stuck in the house for 2 days while everything was draining. And I know other areas did get damage into the houses, depending on the floodplain, depending on that. So that is something to take into effect that is something to look into. That you can use me as your real estate professional to look into the floodplains and ask the sellers and ask the new build, the new construction, what floodplain we're in. We can also look it up. So I do a lot of due diligence on this. I will help you do due diligence when you are purchasing down here to see if you're in a floodplain, and also to be as precautious as possible when hurricanes hit. I've taken my trampoline down in the back 4 times now. I just don't want it lifting up and going anywhere. Even if it's going to be lower winds, I tend to at least flip it over and put stuff on top of it so it doesn't blow around. Just taking those precautions, put the basketball hoop down, take everything inside, and just take those precautions and listen to the Weather Channel and see what happens during the storms. The one interesting thing during hurricanes, though, that's much different than a snowstorm is once the hurricane passes, if there's no damage or anything, it's super sunny out and super nice out, which is interesting. I always say the best time to go golfing is the day after a hurricane, because the weather usually clears and it's nice out and nobody will be on the course. Whereas with snowstorms up in Buffalo would stay. I mean, you get a big snowstorm and it's there for a week or two. I remember plows getting stuck up there all the time trying to clear out. So it's a different weather, natural disaster. It's different. It's definitely different in hurricanes than it is in up north with snowstorms. But the schools take great precautions. A lot of things get closed, and you just kind of ride it out and be as precautious as possible. All right, next up is humidity and pollen. Summerville's spring and summer seasons are incredibly humid, which can be uncomfortable if you're not used to it. Additionally, high pollen counts in the spring can trigger allergies, making it tough for allergy sufferers. So I'm going to be honest, it does get hot and humid, especially in the spring and summer time. In the fall, it gets really nice because the humidity dies out and it's not as humid. We are actually in October right now, and this is a great time of year down here. And also, like I was saying, the pollen, certain times of the year, the pollen gets really bad and you'll get pollen all over your cars and that, but that does not last that long. It's a month and a half. Just something to take into effect. Also with the hot summers in Somerville, you are close enough to drive to the beach, or you have a lot of pools in the development, so you're usually just by water when it is that hot and humid out, and you do get used to it after a couple years. But if this is something that makes you uncomfortable, at least look into it and come down here during the summer months so that you can feel the heat and feel if you can handle it or not. Next on the list is there's limited public transit. If you're used to larger cities with robust public transportation, Summerville might be a challenge for you. You'll need a car to get around most times, as public transit options are limited and ride sharing services can sometimes be unreliable in certain areas. So it is an area, Summerville is very spread out. So it is important to know that you might need a vehicle. You might need 2 vehicles, but there's golf cart options too. Our family, we have 1 car and 1 golf cart because in Cane Bay, it's a golf cart community, and you can get to the grocery store, you can get to restaurants, you can pick up the kids from school and take them to school on golf carts. So there is options like that because the weather is so nice down here. But it is good to know that there is not a lot of public transportation in the area. Next up is developments versus small town feel. While Summerville has maintained a charming downtown area, the growth in new subdivisions and commercial developments can make some areas feel more suburban and congested than a quaint town. There is a lot of developments, there is a lot of neighborhoods. The houses are close together in a lot of the neighborhoods, but if this is something, there is areas though in Summerville that are more spread out. Usually on the Dorchester side, on the Berkeley side over here, there is most of the houses are in developments like Cane Bay, Nexton, Carnes Crossroads, but you can find some spread out areas on the Dorchester side of Summerville. It just might be harder to find the house that you were looking for if you're looking for the houses more spread out. All right, and last but not least is the distance from Charleston. While it's often advertised as being close to Charleston, it is a 30 to 40 minute drive. You're not right next to Charleston or the coast or the beaches. It is a 30 to 40 minute drive. Summerville is tucked back and more north than Charleston. But personally, I like this. I like being off the coast, especially for the tropical storms and that, where you get the surges and more flooding by the coast. You don't get that quite as much in the Summerville area. I also like being away from the city because the city can get congested in the areas, especially 26 around the city can get extremely congested, where Summerville is congested at times, but nowhere near as congested as Charleston. So you are close enough to Charleston, but also far enough away. Close enough to the beaches and the coast, but also far enough away. It depends on what you are really looking for. If you're looking to go to Charleston every day, or if you're looking to go once a week, it's important to know how far you are from there. And what I like to do too is to know where your job is, or where you're thinking about getting a job, and letting you know exactly how long it will take in the morning when the traffic gets kind of heavy. Overall though, if you can handle all the things on this list, or at least most of them, you will love Summerville most likely. You'll love living in South Carolina. It's so much different than the Buffalo area, like where I was from. It was a pleasant change for our kids, getting outside, activities outside, how active you are. It's a much healthier lifestyle. You get more sunshine. But I'm living proof, if you don't like the state you're living in, you can move to a state that you can move to a different state, different lifestyle that you will love. So feel free to reach out. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, days, nights, weekends. I'll get back to you. No pressure conversation. I'd love to talk to you and just give you more information. Also remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you got value from this video. And you can do it. If you don't like the state you're living in, you can do it. Other people might not understand it. Other people might tell you you're crazy for moving, but it was the best decision we've ever made. Moving with our family, getting outside, new experiences, new people. You can do it. Keep it real, y'all.